Hello, there you are. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Could you please elaborate on Guillermo del Toro's
Oh
input
yes, yes,
during
yes,
the editing
yes, yes,
process?
yes, 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 yes. Uh, uh, After months and months and years of working on a movie, you become the danger is that you have no more perspective. Things are all too close to you. You are too close to the tree. You don't see the forest anymore. You need distance, and to create this distance is always good to bring new eyes, fresh eyes. And when I was like finishing my first cut, there was a moment where I needed advice. I needed to make sure that I was walking in the right direction. I needed perspective. I needed to make sure that the elements that I thought were there were really there, that I was not just projecting what I knew and what I was hoping, my wishes on the movie. And I needed someone that I could trust, someone that I admire, deeply respect, and I needed the advice of a master. And there's not a lot of people in the industry that, as a filmmaker, you can go and show your one of your first cut to, and make sure that they will see it for what it is, embrace it, and be generous enough to say the truth about it. And I totally trust Guillermo. He's one of the very few individuals that I know that he will tell me the truth. And so Guillermo del Toro was the first one who ever saw Dune, and it was a beautiful experience to watch the movie with him. And he gave me fantastic advice that helped me to finish the movie, to finish the cut, and to guide me toward the end of the tunnel. And I'm still grateful that he accepted to. They had the generosity to watch the movie with me, and then after that we had a fantastic dinner together talking about the movie and cinema in general. And yeah, it's really very very generous human being and a fantastic filmmaker, of course.
In comparison to your previous sci-fi films, how complex was it to shape the futuristic Dune's world? Did you have to create any new technology in the process? Was there anything from the previous Dunes versions you used for reference?
I didn't use any other reference from the other adaptations. That the idea was really, and I said that straight from the beginning to everybody, to the studio, to the team, that we had to forget about what has been done and to entirely focus on the book. The book was the Bible, the book was the reference, and we were referring to constantly to the book. The idea was to make an adaptation that will be a kind of act of humility. My idea was not to bring my vision to the book, it was more to bring Frank Herbert to the screen. I was really obsessed with the idea to be as close, to try to be as faithful as possible to the spirit of the book, to the descriptions, to the ideas that you can find in the book. When I did Blade Runner, I was trying to pay homage to a giant, to Ridley Scott. I was trying to walk into the footstep of that giant. I was just paying homage to, and so I was trying to respect the boundaries of the world he had created. For Dune, it was very different. It was a blank canvas. It was like I was totally responsible for what will be brought onto the screen, and the design of it and the way it will be shaped, and it was like massive pleasure, massive joy to create this world. The big difference, I would say, with the other projects is I took the time for it. I had much more time than and time is the strongest ally. So I wanted to make sure that all the decision that will be made in every department will have deep roots inside me. That these ideas, in my perspective, will endure the test of time. I'm not talking about other people. I'm talking about myself. I wanted to make sure that everything that I will bring will come from those images that will respect or be in relationship with the what I had in mind when I read the book at first, and that was a long process.
We live in an era in which we have seen all kinds of adventures and all kinds of heroes in movies. So please tell us, what makes Dune so unique and different from anything else we have seen before? And why would young generations who are not familiar with Frank Herbert's universe should be attracted to this story?
The way to bring something fresh out of it was really to go back to where the book came from, which is nature, observation of nature. And I tried to bring that story as close as possible to a nature that is familiar to us, something that feels dangerously familiar. And all the design of the movie was inspired by nature and by the study of nature, which is biology. So it's like that. I think that by being inspired by nature, the nature is also always the strongest ally of a filmmaker. And I thought that instead of trying to be influenced or to find our ways out of all the different influence, the idea was to forget about all this and go back to the art, the essence of the book, and to stay as close possible to the book. And I think that's the only way that we were able to find our way out of the gigantic landscape of science fiction that so many things has been explored already. And and that was one of the beautiful challenges of this project, was to try to define to find our own identity and to try to bring something that we hope has not been seen on screen before. And that was like I would say a beautiful challenge, but a lot of fun also for the young audience. When the book was written in 1965, Frank Herbert had tried to do a portrait of the main currents that were influencing the 20th century. And through time, what was a kind of portrait that the 20th became a premonition, became a prediction, became a projection of what will be the 21st century. What the book became sadly more and more relevant about today's world, about the relationship of humanity with nature, our attempt to control nature is bound to fail, the danger of blending politics and religion together. There's something about seeing those topics through the eyes of a young protagonist, which is Paul Atreides, going through an extraordinary adventure that makes it like, for me, kind of call to action for the youth. And I think that there's something there very beautiful in the idea of following this young man trying to get rid of the pressure he has and the burden he has from the different heritage, political heritage, family heritage, ecological heritage. And that is thematic that are, I think, sadly more relevant today than ever. And I think that the movie can really speak to the youth today. And this is why, by the way, that I made this movie differently than my other movies. My other movies were, most of them, rated R because of violence, because of the intensity of the thematics. And then this one, I tried to make it more accessible because I wanted it to be accessible for a younger, also for a younger audience that will at the same age as I did the age I had when I discovered the book. Because I think that it's a book that deeply touched me and talked to me and helped me through my teenage years. And my dream was to make a movie that will inspire and to the youth to go to read the book. Voilà.
Dune is a 1965 book with a very complex storyline and a sprawling mythology. So how long did it take you to make a surprisingly light adaptation?
I didn't do it alone. I had help from other screenwriters, Eric Roth and John Spate. Both of them wrote the screenplay with me. And it took almost a good 2 years maybe of work, a year and a half, 2 years of intense writing in order to bring an adaptation that will be at the time be fulfill the desires of the hardcore fans, and at the same time will be accessible for an audience that had never heard about the book or read the book. That was the challenge, to find an equilibrium between those two kind of very different audience.